Okay, so this is version 4 of the Mega Dragonite deck, and so I decided to cut out the go first stuff, and what I'd rather do is lean into going second with Technical Machine Evolution. So I maximize my copies of Arven, search your deck for an item card and a tool card, reveal them, put them into your hand. Technical Machine Evolution, choose 2 of your bench Pokemon. For each of those Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon, put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it, then shuffle your deck. So this potentially could get me 2 Dragonairs right off the bat, and then with energy I can start doing the evolutionary guidance. Something else that I've added in, 3 new Pokemon. So I took out the Tapu Koko, I took out Zekrom, and I took out Rayquaza. And these I got from a couple of sources. I referenced some lists that were used in Japan, and then also, just watching different people on YouTube. So the attract customers. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon's in the active spot, you may look at the top 6 cards from your deck, reveal or support a card you find there and put it into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. And also the Mega Kangaskhan. So instead of Mega Electros as an alternate attacker, I have Mega Kangaskhan as a draw engine. So Tatsugiri can look specifically for supporters, and Kangaskhan, if it's in the active, just draw 2 cards. And what's nice is that Kangaskhan can actually even be a backup attacker, because the Dynamotor attaches to anyone on your bench. It does not have to be a lightning type Pokemon. Speaking of alternate attacker, we've also got the Wellspring Mask Ogerpon. You can use Sob to keep them from retreating in the next turn, or Torrential Pump. You've already got the water energy in the deck, so now just use your Dynamotor and attach to Ogerpon, and you can hit the active for 100 as well as the bench for 120. And so that's one of the things that you run into a lot when you're fighting the single prize decks, is you need to find a way to take multiple prizes in a turn, and that means knocking out the active as well as something on the bench. And the Split Bomb from Electros just didn't feel strong enough, so I went this route because this is also a basic. It's a lot easier, and I'm also not getting rid of my Dynamotor. What else do I have in here? Oh, I switched out one of my Night Stretchers for a Super Rod, so shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard into your deck. This would be nice because there have been times where I need a Dragonite out of my discard and I couldn't get it, whereas if I had Dragonair with energy, I could have searched my deck for it. So you Super Rod that, you Super Rod the water energy as well, and then now you're able to just search for your stuff and put them right back into play. I also added in a counter catcher, so 2 bosses orders, 1 counter catcher. You can only use this card if you have more prize cards remaining than your opponent. Switch in one of your opponent's bench Pokemon to the active spot. So this is an item-based gust that only works if you have more prizes remaining than your opponent, and actually happened more often than I would have thought. And then the only other thing I changed in here, I did also go max copies of Ino, because a couple of times this made the difference in, you Ino, you take the knockout, and especially if you're behind on prizes, this can keep them from kind of finding the response, especially considering, Dragonite is not an easy thing to take out. 370 HP, no weaknesses, and I've yet to run into a Lily's Clefairy, and so that's kind of the only thing that could give you a weakness. But we're going to try this out, and I'm going to focus on going second, and hopefully we can close out this series with some wins. Okay. Last match, let's do this. Alright, we got somebody in the Quick League, so they're just getting started. Or at least just getting started for the season. Okay, and they are going first. And I start the Tatsugiri, which is great. That's basically who we want in the active, grabbing us supporters with the attract customers. And we are facing the default Dragonite deck, so this will be a really good test of Have all the changes I made been worth it, or was it a waste of time? Of course, if I were to lose this, that doesn't necessarily mean that my version is worse. Luck is always a factor, prizing is a factor. And hey, Arvin, that's pretty good. So already, attract customers is paying off. Let's grab a Buddy Buddy Poffin. And I've already got a Team Evolution in hand, so I'm grabbing an air balloon. Do this, put one of each. And wow, I have 3 Dynamo in the deck, and 2 of them are in the prizes, which is okay. It's not ideal. You like to have a couple on the bench because then you can Dynamotor 2. But if we draw okay, we'll be fine. I'm going ahead and putting in the Battle Cage because even though it's a defensive stadium that they're not going to make use of, it's not going to help me against them, but putting it down means that's one fewer card in my deck that I don't need. So that stadium is basically going to be there the rest of the game. So say for instance like Iono or any of those, shuffle your hand and draw more cards, I'm not getting that Battle Cage I don't need. But I am able to Team Evolution. I get the Electric, I have Dragonair already, so this feels strong. I like how it's going. And they get Dragonair. They can Evolutionary Guidance, but they don't have anything else in play that they can evolve. So this is just kind of grabbing them a card. Oh, well, there's a Dragonite, so they'll be able to use that next time. And look at that. Iono. Oh man, that is unfortunate for them. So they Iono me into my Dragonite and Energy, Pheasantipity, Arvin. It's just like... And a top deck Buddy Buddy Poffin. Putty Poffin. So we'll just go ahead and grab the other Dratinis. And I'll play the Arvin because I can grab an Earthen Vessel, and I'm grabbing the Maximum Belt because we know Glide by itself will not knock out Dragonite, but with the Maximum Belt it will. I am choosing to discard the Electric, the Lightning Energy, and grab more of these. Can attach that one. Dynamotor for the one I just discarded. And let's go ahead and attract customers again. I don't have a supporter in hand. Hey, boss's orders. That's good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and evolve into the Dragonite, just so they don't Iono me again. Not that it would really matter, I can find it easily, but now I have Dragonite, and they can't somehow magically knock out my Dragonair. And just end the turn there, and so next turn, even if they evolve, that thing is going down, and that may be what they're thinking, because... if I evolve, then I'm good, but maybe they forgot about Maximum Belt math. Or maybe they're hoping I just don't have a boss's orders, which I do. Okay, what are they going to do now? Scratch. Scratch and Dragonite on the bench. So attach this here. Attract customers. See what I get. And I got Ino. Oh my goodness, I'm just like... This attract customers is coming in so clutch. So many options. So now I can sky transport, move myself into the active. Boss's orders. And we are taking out the Mega Dragonite. Sorry, buddy. And he has nothing but the Zero Aura. Alright, I get another Dynamo, another Dragonair. And they finally get a Buddy Buddy Puffin. And so if they've got the default deck, that means they also have the Mega Electros. So we may have to take that out at some point as well, but with maximum belts, we can definitely do that. We get another scratch. This time it's on Dragonite. Okay, and so get Dynamo, I get Dragonair. Let's see. So let's Sky Transport. I'm moving Tatsugiri back up front to attract customers. Dynamotor to attach there. And actually, I can just Night Stretcher for this energy, and there's my manual attachment. And attract customers, I get another INO, which at this point, INO is going to hurt me more than it hurts them. I'm gonna Arvin. Let's see. Grab an air balloon, because I've got Dynamo right now to free retreat, but once I evolve it, I won't have a free retreater. So we'll give that to the electric. Retreat to discard this energy, and that'll give me something else to Dynamotor, so I'll be able to do plenty next time. Renoglide, this is just one prize, but that's okay. That's all of their energies that they have in play. They can only get maximum of one electric next turn. Okay, what are they going to do now? Okay, there's electric. And INO. Saw that coming, but that is fine. How did I get INO'd into two more INOs? That's crazy. Ooh, and they get Zekrom on the bench. Okay. So that thing could actually one-shot Dragonite. If I go down to one prize and they get all the energy they need, Zekrom can hit 380. So that is definitely the threat. So they Dynamotor onto it, they manually attach another one. And yeah, let's Sky Transport, let's get... Oh, you know what? I should have given the air balloon to Tatsugiri, because it's the one I'm constantly putting in the active, or I should have put electric in the active for the free retreat. But okay, well, I get to evolutionary guidance for another electric, and that's one of the wonderful things about this deck, is just how much is on the board. So even if I get Ionode, I don't really care. Electric brings back my energy, Dragonair finds my evolutions, and Dragonite can Sky Transport. Oh, and look at that. I get the boss's orders. So yeah, air balloon onto Tatsugiri would have been the move. If I had the air balloon on Tatsugiri, I could free retreat go into Dragonite and knock out the Zekrom right there. That would have been game. So note to self, air balloon the Tatsugiri. Okay, and there is the Mega Electros, but it doesn't have any energy on it. So will they try to invest in it, or are they just going to keep going for the Zekrom? Oh, and actually they attach the maximum belt to it. So if they could move it to the active, that gives them 50. So even with 2 prizes left, they could knock out my Dragonite. But that would be okay. Even if that happened, I could Evolutionary Guidance to find it. I have 2 electric, so I'd be ready to go next turn anyway. So they wouldn't win by knocking out one of them. And speaking of which, we're just going to go ahead and kind of prove that fact here. Delivery, Evolutionary Guidance, grab a second one. So yeah, they're not equipped to handle 1 Mega Dragonite, much less 2. And I didn't need to attract those customers, but if I didn't already have boss's orders, that could have been where I got it. Move myself back to the active. Boss's orders, the Zekrom, although again I could knock out the Mega Electros, but this one being the threat, I always like to think about, like, if the game were to continue, what would be the best move? And this would have been it. That was the threat, that was all their energies. And look, there's my Wellspring Mask Ogerpon, which I didn't get a chance to use. But that is game, and that went beautifully. I had just 1 misplay, but otherwise smooth as butter. Okay, that is it for the series of Mega Dragonite, and we did end up with a winning ratio, although it does feel a little cheap just because yes, I ended with a winning streak, 8, 9, and 10, but the Mega Scrafty, it didn't even get to play. They started with a Precious Trolley, filled their bench, and then immediately conceded. The Mega Lucario, I only know what it was because of the sleeves, and then of course you still get a VIP screen, even if they're just inactive for too long. So it's like, okay, well, I never got to see anything. They just timed out. I don't know if they disconnected or what. But it was interesting because both of them were in the Ultra League, so they were way higher up the ladder than I was. And then the last win was against another Mega Dragonite, and they were playing just the default deck that you get for free. And I felt kind of bad. They were in the Quick League, but you know, it was the first time I really got to test all of my changes, and it worked like a charm. They didn't get a single prize. I almost felt bad, but hopefully they were able to observe some things and now can take that and make their deck better. So I started off with a loss. It was against a Curly Wall Kangaskhan deck, and they had the Buffalons. I also prized my Dragonairs, and so didn't even really get to... I mean, I played, but it was tough. I kind of had to think of plan B and figure out how to go around the wall, and it didn't work out. So lost that one. Came back and won against a Dragapult, won against Gardevoir, and considering those are the 2 most popular and top decks currently in the format, I was pretty proud of those. Then I lost against a Team Rocket's Mewtwo, and that one, honestly, when I go back and rewatch it, I think I made some bad calls. I didn't pay attention to what was in the deck and made decisions kind of hoping I would draw into some of my other stuff, and had already shot myself in the foot. But considering that I still kind of made them take so long to win, I don't know if that shows my ability to play well from a losing position, or their inability to capitalize on the opponent misplaying. So either way, that was a long one, probably the longest one with the Dragonite, and ultimately a loss. Then I came back and beat a Hydrapple. That one was fantastic. I was able to use the Glide. The 330 was perfect math to knock out the multiple Hydrapples that they were able to get into play. Of course, they have Forest of Vitality, and then just kind of flood the board with energy to hit with Teal Mask Ogerpon as well as Hydrapple. I lost the next two. One was against a Mega Venusaur, and I really needed my maximum belt in that one. Mega Venusaur is one of the few things currently in the format that can survive the Glide unboosted. So that was a tough one, but a good one. Mega Frostlass was also a tough one, and that one really showed me how susceptible I was to item lock, and then they just kind of came in and finished it out. By the time I got Dragonite, it was way too late. I already mentioned the quick concedes for Scrafty and Lucario, and then of course the last winning game against Dragonite. What I like the most that happened here is that I didn't face a single deck more than once. So I had a really good spread of decks that I faced off against. And ultimately, it was a 60% win ratio, although two of those are kind of just quick concedes, which happens, you know. The Scrafty chose not to play the game. The Lucario was the one that timed out. So I think at worst, it would have been 50-50, which is not terrible for a brand new deck. So after 10 games, 6-1, 60% win ratio, and we got 3 weeks left in the ladder. So on to the next one.